just days ago, the conservative movement lost a pivotal voice, igniting a firestorm of political reaction. And leaving a void, many say, well, simply can't be filled.
It's still quite raw, isn't it?
Absolutely. On September 11th, 2025, the U.S. was really rocked by the jarring news of Charlie Kirk's assassination.
Yeah.
He was shot during his American comeback tour at a Utah college campus. And the response from the highest office was swift and, frankly, pretty unprecedented.
Right. President Trump immediately confirmed Kirk's death, announced the suspect's arrest, even disclosed funeral plans publicly.
And then, without presenting any actual evidence at that point, he blamed the radical left for the killing, ordered flags flown at half-staff across the nation.
And this tragic event unfolded amidst what many are calling the United States' most sustained wave of political violence since the 1970s.
That context is crucial.
It really is. And President Trump's direct, kind of unconventional actions, delivering the news himself, placing blame so quickly, extending this extraordinary state recognition, it sharply diverged from typical presidential protocol.
Yeah, usually you'd expect, law enforcement or local officials to handle those initial announcements.
Exactly. It was this immediate, very forceful intervention into a national tragedy. It set a distinct tone right from the very start.
Right. And today we're taking a deep dive into the raw, immediate aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination.
We'll be looking at the intense political fallout, the emotional responses from the conservative movement.
And, of course, the enduring questions this tragedy leaves behind. We've got a stack of sources here giving us some unique insights into this whole unfolding story.
Okay.
So let's maybe start by understanding who Charlie Kirk actually was. I mean, he was just 31 years old.
So young.
But already an immensely influential conservative activist, a prominent podcast host, and, the powerhouse behind Turning Point USA, which he co-founded.
And known for a very specific style, right? Combative.
Definitely. Very combative style, strongly held, you could say, far-right positions on a whole range of issues. Abortion, civil rights, gun control, anti-LGBTQ plus rhetoric. He wasn't someone who shied away from a fight.
No, he certainly wasn't. And what truly stands out here is his rapid ascent and, his significance as a really polarizing figure.
Yeah.
He didn't just state these positions. He actively amplified them through his growing media empire. He cultivated a brand that really resonated deeply with his base, but was also sharply divisive to others.
A real knack for that.
He expertly leveraged his nonprofit, his celebrity status, that very successful podcast, turned it all into considerable personal wealth and immense political influence. He wasn't just a commentator. He was a strategic force. He really understood how to mobilize and energize a specific part of the population.
Okay, and the assassination itself. The sources detail it happening on September 11th, 2025 at Utah Valley University.
Right, the opening event of his American comeback tour.
Exactly. That tour involved a series of engagements where he often connected directly with students, sometimes at his, now famous Prove Me Wrong table, inviting public debate right there on campus.
And the police moved quickly. They arrested 22-year-old Tyler Robinson in connection with the shooting.
But the motive, that's still up in the air, isn't it?
Completely. What remains incredibly unclear at this stage is the motive. Investigators are currently scrutinizing messages reportedly engraved on 4 bullet casings recovered at the scene.
Engraved messages. Wow.
Yeah, and experts suggest these could reference either left or right-leaning groups, so it adds another layer of confusion. And there's also been considerable speculation linking the incident to transgender rhetoric, especially since Robinson's transgender partner is apparently cooperating with the FBI.
Okay.
Though asserting they had no idea about the shooting. So it's a complex, still unfolding situation, lots of pieces yet to fall into place.
One aspect of this that really jumped out at me from the sources was how President Trump stepped into this unique role, almost acting as the messenger-in-chief from the moment the news broke.
Yeah, very hands-on.
He was the first to confirm Kirk's death, first to announce the suspect's apprehension. He then disclosed specific details about the funeral, saying publicly he'd attend.
And crucially, even before an arrest was officially made, he unequivocally blamed the radical left for the killing.
Which is a powerful claim immediately amplified by his millions of followers.
Absolutely. Then he ordered flags flown at half-staff, announced a posthumous Presidential Medal of Freedom for Kirk.
And even dispatched Vice President J.D. Vance to accompany Kirk's casket on Air Force Two.
Which is just extraordinary. That's an almost unprecedented level of government recognition for someone who, never held elected office or military rank.
It really signals the immense political weight Charlie Kirk carried, doesn't it?
It does. And a key aspect to consider is how these actions mark such a sharp break from traditional presidential norms. Historically, presidents tend to let the Justice Department or local authorities lead investigations and announcements. They take a more cautious, sort of measured approach, especially before all the facts are established.
But that's not really Trump's style.
Not at all. This is entirely consistent with his preference for direct engagement, for controlling the narrative from the very first moment. As Mercedes Schlepp, who was a senior advisor in his first term, put it, Trump wants to be the one to break the news.
Interesting.
And this also profoundly reflects the deeply personal and political relationship he had with Kirk. Trump himself credited Turning Point USA with helping him attract young voters.
He even mentioned his son Barron being captivated by Kirk.
Right. Exactly. So his immediate decisive response wasn't just presidential. It was profoundly strategic. It cemented his bond with Kirk's legacy and, importantly, with the conservative base.
Okay, so after Trump's powerful statements, the conservative movement responded. And our sources vividly describe this surge of right-wing anger.
Yeah, that immediate blame placed on the radical left definitely intensified the fury among his supporters. It led to these impassioned calls for action.
Now, Trump did urge a nonviolent response, but he also told reporters, quote, "We just have to beat the hell out of them."
Which is strong language.
And that statement further fueled calls for political revenge against the radical left across various online platforms and media outlets.
Stepping back, this fits into a pattern we've seen where high-profile events quickly become focal points for existing political tensions.
Right.
Some Republican commentators immediately labeled the left as dangerous and a threat, saying things like they believe Charlie was right all this time.
We saw that reflected online, too.
Definitely. A profound outpouring of grief and anger across Republican subreddits, posts like "I miss him so much," those crying emojis, alongside really strong condemnations of, quote, liberal hate celebrating a political rival's murder.
So that grief and anger quickly coalesced into this unified, almost defensive stance for many within the conservative base.
Yeah, further solidifying that narrative of a political war.
But despite the anger, there was also this remarkably widespread outpouring of mourning and commemoration. It seemed to span the globe.
It did. Vigils for Kirk were held worldwide at Turning Point USA campus chapters across the U.S., on Capitol Hill, even in London, where demonstrators carried pictures of Kirk.
And Turning Point USA announced this enormous public memorial service at the Arizona Cardinals Stadium,
which can host over 70,000 people. That really underscores the scale of his following and the depth of the loss felt by his supporters.
Yeah.
Andrew Colvett, who was the executive producer of The Charlie Kirk Show and a close friend, issued a powerful plea. He urged mourners to honor Kirk's legacy, not just politically, but through faith.
What did he say specifically?
He urged people to, quote, go back to church, open your Bible, pray, ask God to lead you. Colvett emphasized Kirk's courage and faith as central to his message, and highlighted the authentic and decent nature of what he stood for. It was apparently particularly meaningful to Kirk's family that the memorials largely stayed peaceful. People praying, lighting candles.
Exactly. Instead of engaging in rioting or destructive behavior, it reflected a desire to honor his spirit in a dignified way.
Now, this is where we see some really complex messaging emerge, especially around calls for condemnation and unity. Nick Fuentes, for instance.
Right.
He strongly condemned those celebrating Kirk's death, calling it pure evil, pure malice. He stated that such people must be defeated, destroyed, and eradicated from our society.
Strong words again.
Very strong. Though he did explicitly clarify this was not a call to violence, but rather a demand for political and intellectual defeat. It's a subtle but, significant distinction trying to channel that outrage.
Yeah, and this raises an important question about the boundaries of political rhetoric in such a highly charged environment.
Definitely.
Fuentes specifically criticized what he called smug, glib liberals like Hassan Piker for making, quote, glib remarks about gun control instead of just unequivocally condemning the violence itself.
So focusing on the reaction rather than the act. Kind of. He asserted that if they cannot disavow this violence, we will have no choice but to consider you as no different than the killers. It is a very aggressive rhetorical framing, forcing a stark choice.
But amidst that, we also saw other kind of contrasting calls for unity.
We did. For example, a heartfelt Republican subreddit post that read, "It's time to talk again. When people stop talking, really bad stuff starts. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. Willing to patiently, respectfully speak with anyone."
That reflects a different sentiment, doesn't it? A longing for de-escalation, maybe?
It seems so. And Speaker Johnson also called for public officials to speak clearly after Kirk's murder, urging a more responsible approach to public discourse.
Okay, let's delve deeper into Kirk's actual impact.
Mhm.
We have to talk about Turning Point USA. That organization really became synonymous with his legacy.
Absolutely. He co-founded it at just 18 years old back in 2012.
Incredible. Starting, in his own words, with no money, no connections, and no idea what I was doing.
And yet he transformed it into this influential political powerhouse, one of the country's largest political organizations, really.
With a huge presence at high schools and colleges across the nation. A real grassroots movement he built from scratch.
His unique genius was undoubtedly in mobilizing youth for Donald Trump. Trump himself recognized this, stating, "No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie."
And we saw the impact in the numbers, right?
Yeah, we did. In the 2024 election, 47% of voters aged 18-29 supported Trump. That's a much narrower gap than in 2020, when Biden had outperformed Trump 61% to 36% in that key demographic.
Significant shift.
Turning Point USA's strategy was all about direct engagement, campus activism, using modern media to reach young people often overlooked by traditional conservative groups.
And even after his death.
Even after Kirk's assassination, Turning Point USA reported a substantial surge in campus chapter requests. Over 32,000, apparently.
Wow. That suggests a potential rallying effect, maybe. A desire among young conservatives to carry on his work.
It certainly could.
Beyond just youth outreach, Kirk was undeniably a crucial ally to President Trump personally.
Yes, Trump openly credited Turning Point USA with attracting those young voters who played a key role in his political successes.
And Vice President J.D. Vance acknowledged the profound impact, too. He said, "So much of the success we've had in this administration traces directly to Charlie's ability to organize and convene."
He even went further, didn't he? Stating that Kirk helped us staff the entire government.
Which suggests a really deep operational influence within the administration itself. It highlights how integral Kirk became to the broader conservative infrastructure.
Andy Surabian, a close friend and political advisor, summed up his unique position. He said Kirk was one of one.
One of one.
Yeah, and had the potential to be the next Rush Limbaugh, which is a truly significant statement, given Limbaugh's, unparalleled influence in conservative media.
Huge comparison.
Surabian believed Kirk would have been proudest of how he inspired a generation of young conservatives. It wasn't just about political messaging, it was about nurturing future leaders.
He seemed to have this exceptional talent for combining fundraising, charisma, media savvy, organizational skill.
Exactly. Making him feel irreplaceable, his impact resonating really deeply within the movement.
And it wasn't just abstract inspiration, was it? Many young politicians now serving.
Like White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, Representative Anna Paulina Luna.
Right. They credit Kirk with directly inspiring or boosting their careers. They saw him as a mentor, a guide. Luna explicitly stated, "He's part of the reason I'm in office right now."
His ability to identify, cultivate, and promote new talent was clearly a hallmark of his legacy.
So the profound insight here seems to be this pervasive sense of irreplaceability surrounding Charlie Kirk.
President Trump himself articulated it, saying, "You don't replace a Charlie Kirk, he was unique."
Surabian echoed that, expressing doubt that any single person could ever truly fill the void he left.
Right. Which suggests that Kirk's legacy, both ideologically and organizationally, will have repercussions for the political landscape for decades to come. The question isn't just about who leads next, but about that unique set of skills that propelled the movement.
So as we move forward, there are still many unanswered questions, particularly concerning the ongoing investigation. Tyler Robinson has been arrested, but the motive, still unclear.
Yeah, and investigators are scrutinizing those engraved messages on the 4 bullet casings, which, as we mentioned, experts suggest could reference either left or right-leaning groups. Adds to the confusion.
And what truly stands out here is the persistent ambiguity in the official narrative around that motive.
We've seen considerable speculation around Robinson's transgender partner and how transgender rhetoric might be connected.
But the partner is cooperating.
Reportedly cooperating fully with the FBI and has stated unequivocally they had no idea about the shooting. It just highlights the complexity and sensitivity surrounding the investigation. We need to be cautious about jumping to conclusions before all the facts are really established.
And this assassination, as we noted right at the top, occurred against a deeply troubling backdrop. The U.S.'s most sustained wave of political violence since the 1970s.
Yeah, it's not an isolated incident. It's part of a larger, very concerning trend.
When we zoom out, this event really eliminates these widespread anxieties among commentators. Fears about the nation being on the verge of full-on political violence and civil war.
There are grave concerns that this incident could set us down the path towards unbelievable horror, suffering, bloodshed.
Grim outlook.
It is. And in response, there have been these urgent calls for all Americans to disavow this nihilistic, malevolent violence and to condemn it loudly from all sides of the political spectrum.
It feels like a critical moment for the nation where the rhetoric used and the responses to violence could profoundly shape our future.
Absolutely.
And for the future of the conservative movement specifically, there's a big open question. Who will lead Turning Point USA after Kirk's death? The organization is an undeniable powerhouse, but Kirk was its face, its driving force.
Kirk's legacy of inspiring a generation of young conservatives and building Turning Point USA into this powerful organization is immense, no question.
And that surge in chapter requests we mentioned.
Right. It suggests a potential rallying effect among his base, a desire to carry on his mission. But the void left by Kirk's unique combination of talents, his unparalleled fundraising, his charisma, his media genius, his organizational skill, that vision for youth mobilization, it remains significant.
Yeah.
The challenge isn't just finding a new leader, it's finding a new force capable of replicating Kirk's multifaceted impact and maintaining the momentum he built.
So what does this all really mean for us? Charlie Kirk's assassination has clearly sent these profound ripples across the political landscape. It sparked intense mourning, anger, and a renewed focus on the deep divisions within our nation.
Yeah.
From those unprecedented presidential responses to a powerfully galvanized conservative youth movement, this deep dive really shows how one tragic event can reshape conversations and galvanize a base in ways, well, few could have predicted.
This event truly highlights how deeply intertwined political rhetoric and real-world actions can become, and the very real consequences that can unfold. It compels us, I think, to consider the immense responsibility that falls on leaders and citizens alike, both in expressing strong beliefs and in unequivocally condemning violence.
That call for a shared disavowal of nihilistic, malevolent violence.
And, as some have urged, even a return to faith. It presents a profound challenge to a deeply polarized society grappling with such a significant loss.
So as the investigation continues and as the conservative movement grapples with a future without Charlie Kirk, here's something for you to ponder. In an era of intense division, what role do you play in either fueling or perhaps cooling the flames of political conflict? And what does true victory even look like when the stakes feel this high?